You are listening or you are watching the Church Answers podcast. My name is Thom Rainer. I am here with Jess Rainer. If you are a regular follower of the Church Answers podcast, who is I talking to that says they devour? Oh, I know. Member of your church, David Rogers. Hey, David, by the way, he
I
said
didn't realize he's a regular listener.
regular listener, Church Answers podcast, Rainer on Leadership podcast. He left a message for you and Sam. I just want you to know that. So are you curious?
I am.
He's especially since he's one of your faithful, one of our faithful church members.
Absolutely.
David said the highlight of many of our podcasts is when I sing 60 songs.
No, it's not.
And he starts singing along. No, you asked David. You asked David.
I will have a conversation with him this Sunday. So
You
I'll
do
actually have a
that.
conversation before this podcast airs. So hopefully I can get this fixed before it's too late.
Well, I just want to let you know, he said it was great. His wife said, yes, he really appreciates it. But then again, she doesn't always appreciate it when he starts randomly singing 60 songs, kind of like your dad does as well. So we were talking together at the Welcome Ministry Banquet, and we were at the same table at Church Answers, and I mean, Church Answers at the Church Spring Hill.
Yeah.
And we had some good conversations about 60s music, and we went through a litany. We have, even though we're in the same decade, we have a different preference within the decade. I'm not going to get into that, but I'll talk about it later.
I'm glad I said it. I'm glad I sat at a different table.
For many reasons, I'm sure. The Church Answers podcast is going to feature millennials. And you think about who millennials are, depending upon which measurement you're using, born 1980 to 81, all the way to 1996, up until we get to Gen Z. And there's something happening with millennials. We'll take these two podcasts, and then we'll probably take two more, because Jess and I have a lot of new information about this generation. Before we do that, I mentioned to you in the last podcast, we have a new sponsor. Folks, this is big. This is really big. It's not just big for Church Answers. I mean, we absolutely love Wesley Biblical Seminary, but who is big for us, for you who want to go and get your education, especially if you cannot go on campus, especially if you want a wide array of certifications, degrees, masters, even doctoral level. We are now in partnership with Wesley Biblical Seminary. Please, at least check them out. High quality education, fully accredited. They are the top of the top of the top, and they are growing because they are reaching an audience unlike any other seminary that I know of. So Wesley Biblical Seminary, fully committed to the inerrancy of Scripture. They are totally flexible online. There's just so many things about them that are right for such a time as this. Love the partnership. Just, I know you have not met the principals, especially the president and the COO. Looking forward to introducing you to them in the near future, because they're doing an incredible job. And because they are primarily virtual online, they're able to offer a wide array, and their accrediting agencies use them as pilots in order to be able to say, this is how it's being done, and then we're going to let others do it. So they're
on the cutting edge.
They are on the cutting edge. Great folks.
Yeah.
Appreciate Andy and his team at Wesley Biblical Seminary. So let's talk about the millennials. Millennials are around 72 or 73 million alive right now. The boomers are dropping below 70. And this year, the actuarial table says there will be fewer than 70 of us. There's around 70 of us now. I'm the boomer. You're the millennial.
Right.
That's the generation born between 1946 and 1964. We always touted ourselves as the largest generation. We were, with number of live births. But your generation, Jess, is now number one. Now,
we've always been number one in different ways, but we're definitely number one now in size as well. And I love it. I love it that we are revisiting this topic because there's a little bit of a history here. This goes back to 2008, 2009. I have to remember the release date when we wrote. I say we. I had a little contribution into a book called.
It was definitely a co-authored book.
The Millennials, which was a generational study of the millennials. Again, at the time we said those born between 1980 and 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Most researchers cut off the millennials at like 97, 98, I think around that time
Mm-hmm.
frame.
Right.
And hence the name millennials, ushered in the new millennium. And we did a generational study back then, and we had the dialogue in book format between a boomer and millennial. And now we're revisiting the topic because I think there is a growing need, especially from the local church, to get an understanding of the millennials again. We're in a different season of life. In fact, I think we've been reshaped in some ways as a generation. We were shaped a lot by 9/11. That was we
Mm-hmm.
were shaped by technology. We were one of the first generations to usher in technology. I remember going on AOL Instant Messenger, AIM, and living life on that. That was a new thing. Online forums, chat rooms, Napster, all those things that I had growing up.
Napster, the cheating song company.
I didn't even realize at the time. I was like, "Oh, here we go, free music." I didn't even have the
Napster didn't
implication.
either until the lawsuit started hitting.
That's right. And then it's like, "Oh, I probably shouldn't be on here." Burning CDs, like all the things that
You burned CDs for me because I wanted my 60 songs in a collected format, and I didn't have any one place where I could get them all. And so I
downloaded them from Napster and then burned them on a CD.
so I cheated too. And that, I believe that was one of my birthday gifts from you was a burned CD of my favorite 60 songs.
I don't remember that. I remember one of your books. I did the artwork inside of, I think, like Microsoft Paint or something like that. So we are the generation that, for the older ones, ushered in that. I'm on the older side of the millennials. Some of the younger millennials, the technology was already advanced. But what's happened, I think there's been a reshaping of the millennials. And so today what we're talking about is this largest living generation, and why the church can't overlook the millennials. And just as another little add-on to this, we are in the process of writing a revision to that book, the
Yep.
Millennials, that released. Again, I don't know the release date. I know I was in seminary, so it was 2008, 2009, 2010, somewhere around that time frame. That book was released, and so as we have continued to look at this generation, even now, man, we've been reshaped by a lot of different things. And it's time for the church to understand that this generation is still, we said it back then, a massive mission field. It's a new mission field, though, for many other reasons.
And there's some points that we need to add to this. First of all, the millennials are the large. You said this, so this is not an addition. So I'll make sure that I'm going to give you credit for it. They're the largest living generation now. The boomers have died off. The boomers are around 70 million. So you've got their 72, 73, 74 million for millennials. But I want to just kind of encapsulate this. Most of the attention is Gen Z and a little bit to Gen Alpha. And that's typical as a generation moves into adolescence, into adulthood. I have a book that is primarily about Gen Z, the anxious generation goes to church. But when this book comes out, what we will be focusing on, if you reach the millennials, you're going to likely reach a lot of Gen Z. And you'll see it when the book comes out. I think the book will be out sometimes by the end of the year, so we'll be letting you know when it comes out. And by the way, Jess, you're way off. Millennials was written in 2011.
You say way off. That's so.
And you say 2009, 2008.
Okay, I guess we have different definitions of way off. A couple years. I feel like it's in the grace window.
Couple of years.
I think we wrote it in 2009. The research was done in 2009. So I'm not completely off with that. I'm pretty sure the research was done in 2009, and then we wrote the book, and it came out in 2011. So it's probably written in 2009, 2010, and then published in 2011.
And by the way, if you say, "Oh, I'm going to Amazon to get that book," it's out of print, so you'll be getting a book that somebody owns other than Amazon, and it's out of date. I hate to say this. I wouldn't buy it. I'd wait on the next book.
Yeah. And depending on when you're listening to this podcast, if you're listening to this podcast on this release date, the book is not out yet. Maybe you're listening to this, who knows, 45 days after release date. There's a good chance the book may be out. Maybe, who knows exactly when. We're trying to finish it up and get it going. But check the show notes, and depending on when you're listening to this, and the link to the new book may be in there, depending on when you're listening to this. And so look for the Millennials Revised.
And make sure you're looking at a 2025 copyright date.
That's right. That's right.
Maybe I should say 2026, possibly, but
no, 2025. It's definitely going to be 2025. We got to make it happen for 2025 for sure.
It's almost done. So just to say, a lot has changed with the millennials themselves. They're a lot older, of course, and a lot of changes there, but they are the parents for the most part of Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Yeah. So that's why we have to know more about them.
Yeah. I mean, when we look at, where the millennials are compared to the boomers, there's always this kind of one generation's parenting the next generation. So there's always this connectivity with it. And I think because of how Gen Z was raised, and if you go back and read The Anxious Generation goes to church. The main premise of The Anxious Generation, not your book, but the actual book, The Anxious Generation, was that Gen Z traded play-based childhood for phone-based childhood. And so the millennials are trying to figure out now this new phenomenon. In large part, the millennials that are parents of Gen Z are trying to figure out this new phenomenon of these kids that their social worlds, in large part, lived online.
It's another world. It's not this world. It is another world. It is a virtual world. And you bringing up an excellent point. Because of that, the millennials are having to learn new parenting skills related to a generation whose pubescent years were formed by a phone, online, with social media.
Yeah. Here's a super easy example for this. And maybe I'm the only parent that is going through this. But the traditional, a child, corrective discipline, that's always the goal, not punishment. Corrective discipline. Child does something, breaks a rule. You're looking at a corrective discipline. You would typically go, you're grounded. Okay. For Gen Z, it's kind of like, okay.
Like, what does that mean?
Okay. I mean,
I'm always in my room anyway.
Yeah. It's that little, like, go to your room. It's like, okay. Now, new parenting style, being a millennial with the Gen Z, I have full control over my Gen Z's phone. I have the ability to go into my phone and hit close and all the apps shut down. So
do your brothers. Wow.
Yeah. And so I'm able to go in and go, boop, you're grounded. And the grounding is a click of a button on the device. And so it's this whole new world. But I think in large part, millennials, as we're thinking about where they are trying to figure out how to parent this generation. And so millennials, I think in large part, late 20s to mid 40s right now at the time of this podcast release. I think that's about the time frame of where we are.
Right.
And so depending on, for my peers, I had kids young. So you may even have, I'm 40. So some 40-year-olds may still have small kids, and they're getting ready to enter this world. The millennial generation is beginning to look to the church to help. The millennial generation is beginning to go, where do we turn for answers because of what's so new with Gen Z? I don't know if you felt like that as a boomer dad. I mean.
Nope, I did not. I, in fact, by the time the internet came along, y'all were pretty well developed. You had pretty much gone through the pubescent stage, and it wasn't shaping you. And so
I think it was in high school, late middle school. Yeah.
I can think for just a few minutes. I'm not going to do it while we're recording this, but I can remember when I got my first AOL account. So it hadn't been that long ago. But look, before we go on, we got some other things I want to talk about the millennial generation. There's a organization that brings them together, millennials and other generations together. So talk to us about Upward Sports.
Best segues. That was a good one. I give
you.
You.
You know what happens? Upward makes it natural.
They do. Upward's great. We do want to take a moment and thank them. One, for sponsoring this podcast, but also thank them for their heart, for their ministry. They are all about helping you as a church reach your community. and they are using sports as that mechanism, and it brings generations together.
It
You want to
really
think
does.
of one thing from a sports perspective that brings generations together right now?
Pickleball.
Pickleball. It is
Pickleball.
it. The boomers love it. The millennials are playing it. And then I don't know if I've said this before. I have a daughter that's taking a pickleball class right now. She's in middle
Really?
school. She's in middle
Younger?
school.
The oldest one.
My
Oldest
oldest
daughter.
girl, my middle schooler, yes, is taking a pickleball class. So in the midst of this conversation about generations, if you're like, well, what's one thing I can do right now? Go to Upward Sports. Have them help you start a pickleball outreach from your church. Go to upward.org/pickleball. Upward.org/pickleball. You also go to upward.org/church answers. And they got some free supplies if you sign up with them. They got some net sets. They got everything you need. All they need is just a passionate person who wants to bring generations together at your church and do it through pickleball. And so go check them out. We're super thankful for them, for their heart. This is a great way to reach all the generations.
I'm going to bring them together. And I could sing "Come Together" by the Beatles right now, but I'm not going to do that. Hey,
I like you still have wisdom in your old age.
No, it's just time. It's just time. I mean, we want to end this podcast in 5 or 6 minutes, so I want to be careful of that. But I still got to tell you, you do a lot of things right. You and Rachel do a lot of things right. This is a text from that same child. I'm not going to give the name. And they call me Rad. For the audience, I was originally supposed to be granddad, but his oldest son, the first grandchild, called me Rad. So here's a text from her yesterday.
Okay.
Hey, Rad. I'm doing a school project on taking the art of the argument and looking at fallacy. It's called an appeal to an illegitimate authority of the celebrity expert. It's where celebrities suggest something when they're not an expert and they don't even know it. And she wants me to discuss that with her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love those kids. So
that's my text from a 13-year-old granddaughter. And
yeah.
Like, huh?
Yep. She's in a class called The Art of Argument. She's learning all about different fallacies.
Oh my gosh. She doesn't need that.
my kids get it honestly. They know how to argue well. I don't know where they learned that one from. That's all me. But yeah, they're looking at fallacies. It's a great class. It's in addition, so she works on her art of argument. She looks at fallacies, and she goes and plays pickleball. She's having a good life.
Is well run, but we're talking about the millennials,
right?
We're talking about their kids a good bit because that's what's changed. But I just want to remind our audience, we have a part 2 on this, and we'll come back to it. But the thing I really want to remind you that this is the largest living generation now, and for the most part, they're the parents of Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And so, if you're not thinking about the millennials now because they're not the next generation coming up, like Gen Z gets all the attention right now, you need to be.
Yeah. The millennials are getting lost in the shuffle because you have the boomers, they're getting honored, and they should be, right? I'm not saying they shouldn't be.
No, they shouldn't be.
The boomers are getting honored.
No.
You have Gen Z, which is the next generation, and churches are like, how do we reach Gen Z? And then you have some Gen Alpha that's coming into the discussion as well. The boomers are in this middle ground of they're kind of forgotten. I think, though, from a church standpoint, especially where I live, I know that the millennials make up the largest segment of our population. It's 24%, actually 25%.
Make up the largest portion of the American population. And before you get too mournful about the lack of recognition your generation gets, Gen X is really
I forgot about them.
So neglected, we don't even talk about them.
I totally forgot about them. Yeah,
there you go.
They're easy to forget about.
Okay then.
So but the millennials are in this prime position, I think, because of what's happening with Gen Z, that they're looking for, they're just hungry. The millennials are so hungry right now. And I don't even know through some of the preaching that I'm doing, I'm addressing the millennials in their marriages. I'm addressing millennials in their parenting. I'm doing it because it is a large segment of my population. It's a large segment of the church that I pastor as well. But it's easy to get distracted and lose sight of the largest living generation. And so we're excited about this book that will be released Depending on when you're listening this, maybe it is released. Go check the show notes. This is a call to a reset and a call to action for church leaders. So this first podcast we're talking about was a bit of a primer. It's letting know who they are, what they're facing right now, and their hunger. And so we're going to be getting into some more specifics with the next.
We're talking about how to reach them in the next segment.
Yeah. So this is just a little bit of understanding who they are, where they're at, some feelings that they're having, which I guess you're seeing through me as a millennial as well. But before we wrap this one up, we want to thank one more time. I know we thanked them at the beginning of this podcast, but we want to thank our other sponsor besides Upward. We want to thank Wesley Biblical Seminary. They are focused on developing trusted leaders for faithful churches. They offer a ton of different options as far as education, certificates, bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, doctoral degrees. They have it all. And what's so cool is they have a flexible online format that fits your schedule. So what's happening at Wesley Biblical Seminary and what they're doing, as we mentioned at the top of the podcast, they're on the cutting edge on many different forms of education. It might just be the fit you need to get the education you've been wanting. So go check out Wesley Biblical Seminary, wbs.edu. If you're looking at the show notes or you're watching this, go click that link. We'd love for you to click on that link and go find out more about them.
I got to say one other thing. Sure. wbs.edu is a great domain. 3 letters .edu.
It is.
Wesley Biblical, wbs.edu. They're cutting edge, but they have not abandoned the basics and the foundational truths of the Word of God. And you're going to absolutely love it. It's the up-and-coming seminary, though they've been around a while. They have a new and fresh vision. So check them out.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, thank you guys for joining us for this edition of the Church Answers podcast. I guess if we were answering a question, it would have been, who are the millennials now? They are the largest living generation, and they are the generation that can't be overlooked by the church. We're going to be talking at least one more podcast episode, potentially some more down the road, about what the church can do to reach this generation. So we encourage you to go ahead and if it's available, listen to it. And we look forward to catching you on that episode. We'll see you then.